What is going on, guys? Pat in the shop, and tonight is for you budget builders. We got a dyno test of Vortec heads versus budget aluminum heads. Let's check it out. If you're building a budget small block Chevy, there's really two options that guys look at. They would look at either a set of Vortec heads, which are the best flowing production GM head GM ever put out for the small block Chevy, or we're looking at, say, a budget aluminum cylinder head. There's so many variations of it. The Skip White NKBs is what we tested, but there's the older AFR Enforcers, which are exact same castings. Dart makes a similar one. Blueprint. The list goes on and on. Everyone uses this very similar offshore casting, and they're all kind of within the same ballpark price. When we look at the comparison of it, we grab a set of Vortec heads, which some guys really hold high on a pedestal. I like Vortec heads. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you know that. But some guys really put these heads as being some sort of magical cylinder head, but they're really just a really good small runner steel head. But they do have their downsides, and that's what we're gonna discuss and see if it's worth it here. But when you go and track down a set of heads, they're getting harder and harder to find that are not cracked and in good shape, and guys don't want an arm and a leg for. So by the time you find a good casting, you have machine work done. If you need them resurfaced, we had to cut these ones down to 60 cc's. Both heads were matching 60 cc chambers. But by the time we put in machine work, we need to put valve springs, valve seals. I like to upgrade them to 1.6 exhaust valves. And by the time we put time in porting them and doing all the work, is it worth it? Are we going to get more power out of the Vortec heads versus a budget aluminum head where we can take a good head that's assembled well from a company like Skip White, who actually assembles their heads and puts good springs in them? We can take a set of those heads, plop them on. What is the power trade-off? Are we losing power with the Vortex? Are we gaining power with the Vortex? Are we losing power with the aluminum heads? And that's the big question everyone asks, and I get this question asked all the time. So I took the opportunity and did the dyno test. I wanted a really good comparison. I wanted very few variables, I guess is the best way to put it. And our test mule was a 406 small block Chevy. This is a really basic combination, and it's essentially a stock bottom end 400 because it is a bored out, but it uses a big old dish piston, 22 cc dish piston, just like you would see on a stock 400. So there's really nothing performance about the bottom end. Stock rod, stock crank, and these big dish 22 cc dish pistons. I kept the compression ratio the same. The Vortex were cut down to 60 cc's, and the NKBs from Skip White, he now offers us, he'll cut them down to 60 cc's in the machine shop. So our compression ratio stayed the same. With the NKBs, we're able to use the same intake manifold. We're able to use the same rocker arms. We're able to use the same push rods and headers, the same distributor base. We use a different cap just because I used the other cap on another one. But everything essentially stayed the same between the two engines. And then when we're doing back-to-back dyno tests, it's hard because you have to try to keep all the variables the same. You want the oil temperature similar, you want the coolant temperature similar. So when you see these results I'm going to show you, everything was as close as I possibly did it. Oh, and we also use the same carburetor, exact same everything. So everything I tried to do to make it the most fair comparison, not only for you guys, but for my own data. I haven't done this before. I haven't compared these budget heads to a Vortec head. So I was curious myself, and I wanted to keep the data consistent as best I could. So I'll put up a quick shot of the combination and the Summit camshaft we're using. It's just a flat tappet hydraulic cam, real basic camshaft. But these grinds are really nice from Summit Racing. I'll put a link below if you guys want to check it out, because another takeaway from this video is not only the cylinder head test, but this is a good combination if you guys are building a 400 or a 4.6 or something similar. Okay, let's take a quick peek at the flow numbers for the Vortec heads. These are mildly ported, 1.6 exhaust valve, 194 intake valve with all my little tricks done to it, back cut intake valves. These are the flow numbers for these heads. Obviously pretty decent flowing for a Vortec head, with extra little care taken on the exhaust side, as you can see by how well the exhaust flows compared to a stock Vortec. But that's what I tell guys. Focus on the exhaust. That'll make the biggest difference from what I've found. And then just do mild work on the intake. Leave the stock intake valve, and they usually work pretty good with minimal amount of work. So now let's take a look at the NKB heads. These are the numbers stock. That's a 200cc head, 202 valve, 1.6 exhaust. Decent flow numbers, similar flowing exhaust to our Vortex now. But let me show you the only modification I did to the NKB heads was do a 50th thou back cut on the intake valve, and I'll just show you the difference, what that ended up being. So we did run them with a 50th thou back cut on the intake valve, and I'll just show you the comparison of the stock versus the back cut. Okay, so now that we have all the information, we know the combination, we know what the heads flow, let's take a look at the dyno results. So as you can see, very similar, closer than I thought it was going to be. The Vortex came out strong, which in theory makes sense with the smaller runner, but the NKBs came out fast and ended up making more peak torque. So with the same coolant temp and everything, the peak torque on the NKBs was 495.8, and on the Vortex was 482.58. So close, about was that 13 or so foot-pounds of torque difference at peak. And the interesting part is peak happened at the exact same point, 4,100 RPM. So even though this is a bigger runner, some theory will say, oh, it's going to shift that number up. It did not at all that we saw. Same with peak horsepower. So peak horsepower with the Vortex was 430.48 at 5,300 RPM, and 5,400 RPM, 436 with the NKB. So 6 horsepower or so, 5-6 horsepower at peaks. The interesting part was how the larger runner kicked up the torque. This could just be a factor of airflow. But I was expecting up top, given the 200cc runner versus the 170-ish cc runner, I thought the power would change up top a little bit more. But as you can see, it was pretty consistent in kind of just how they kind of just railroad tracked and kind of stayed the same up top, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I want you guys to comment below and let me know what you think of these results. Were they what you expected? Did you think the little bit of work done to these Vortex made the biggest difference against the NKBs? Is it worth all the work and money putting into the Vortex? Or we just throw a set of NKBs on? Check the NKBs out. As far as a budget head, Skip White does a nice job. He's a great guy, and he was actually surprised by the results. He wanted to know what I did to the Vortec heads to make them so comparable to the NKBs. He was pretty curious about the tricks I do to the Vortex, and that's another thing to be said is these aren't stock Vortec heads. Like most guys that are going to be doing Vortex, they're going to be doing a little bit of work to them. Most guys don't run them stock. They like to do some porting and stuff to get what they can out of them. But again, that's time and money for parts and stuff compared to the aluminum heads. The other test we did the same day is I ended up putting a single plane on with the NKB heads. So let me know what you think those results will be. How much power did we pick up or lose? We did some spacer tests. It was overall a great day on the dyno. We got a lot of data and a lot of different information for different combinations. But the takeaway from this is the NKBs, if you're trying to do it quick and easy, they're definitely the way to go. There's a budget aluminum heads. The other takeaway from this is good combination if you're trying to put together a 400. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Comment below if you have any questions and I'll try to get to them. Check out the links. There's part links down below. Click on them. It helps the channel out. Thanks, guys.